A BB5 family, you're tuned in to Warrior Talks. I'm your host, Busara. Gonna get right into our ancestral wisdom. We desire to bequeath two things to our children. The first one is roots, the other one is wings. Sudanese proverb. And by bequeath, it just means to leave. So we desire, we should be very passionate about ensuring that our children have roots. Because our enemy made sure that they didn't. They separated us from the continent, from our languages, from our spiritual systems. Things that root you in culture. Without roots, you're willing to go wherever the wind blows. You're not grounded. So you're willing to go with whatever flow, even if that flow is flowing right off of a cliff. Okay? And with the wings, is basically, we want to support our children so they can soar high. And support them doing righteous things. We don't want to support them to be the best thug or to be the person with the most derogatory music. We don't want to be like Dwayne Wade calling support going to the gay parade with a 12-year-old son of ours, okay? We don't want to support in the wrong direction. Support is broad, just like prayer. I can pray for your demise or I can pray for your rise. The same thing goes for support. You can support someone into being a coward, or you can support someone into being great. And in our pursuit of a BB5 we want to make sure we leave strong African-centered roots and implant an identity that ensures pride, that'll make our children high flyers in math, science, engineering, all of the things we need. Black children are the most important resource that we have as a nation within a so-called nation. The proof is undeniable. Our enemy capitalizes off of black children through junk food, sports, music, prison, fashion, and material trinkets, just to name a few. They see our children as vital resources that fuel up their sinister agendas, as well as their survival going into the future. This is why it is important that we raise black children on principles of righteousness. We shouldn't treat our youth like they are in a fantasy world where reindeer fly, little elves in green and red jumpers make toys, and bunnies lay eggs. Black children and their survival cannot afford white lies, European lies, or Africans telling white European lies to be considered American. A people who are being deceived by their government, miseducated, incarcerated in massive numbers, victims of violence, and misrepresented in the media shouldn't further perpetuate confusion and unconscious deceitful behavior with their black children. This is very counterproductive in raising righteous warriors and is a threat to our survival on all levels, economically, spiritually, emotionally, academically, politically, you name it. Our children should view men who died trading slaves and separating families as devils, not as forefathers or men of valor. We should not honor their culture and lack of values that were brutally forced upon us. This unconscious approach to culturing our youth sets up the alley-oop for them to become politically ignorant and treasonous adults and elders that are easily deceived and manipulated. We live in a system that survives and thrives off of our demise. We are left with a clear cut and the only option of educating ourselves according to the issues that threaten our survival and that will assist in protecting our future. Currently, our future generations have been positioned to be dependent. The rejection of Elijah Muhammad's call for black people to separate from whites has mentally confused our people and left the majority of our people useless outside of European-controlled societies. It has also corrupted our morals, family system, child rearing, and mental health through their non-black owned or controlled media conglomerates. Our failure to read the blueprint for black power is crippling our economic and political intellect, as well as creating fame seekers rather than power holders. We are allowing our most important resource to be destroyed. If we aren't preparing them for a BB5 then we must be gearing them up for treason, for confusion, for cowardice, and to assist in their own genocide. There is no gray area. By failing to read, comprehend, and plan against the academic plight laid out against us in the miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, we continue to raise brilliant black minds for white and Eurasian interests. By limiting the social material that we deem to be important to things that don't offend whites, or to only discuss slavery in a way that doesn't talk about revolts and resistance, will create a class of self-hating cowards who will not benefit our race and who will seek and dream about putting a black face on white power. And this is only done because they see their parents spending the majority of their disposable income on European manufactured products, made in China products, or unhealthy foods cooked at gas stations by Arabs. And in a healthy society, the youth look up to the adults as the adults look out for the youth. This is why our enemy, in their onslaught on African morality, uses the youth to lead the moral codes of black people. This can only be done by removing the adult from the home while attacking the values of the adults through the media programs aimed at their children. The enemy removes our adults from the homes in multiple ways. Employment, single mothers working 40 plus hours, partying. People, instead of spending time with their family, they're in the clubs, hanging out, getting drunk. Drug abuse. So many children are raising themselves because their parents are addicted to heroin, crack, meth. Yes, black people smoke meth, ice, all of that stuff. Prison, from selling drugs, senseless crimes, nonviolent offenders, possibly innocent men and women in prison, as well as selfishness, are an example of a few ways our adults are removed from the home. The enemy uses the absence of competent, culturally rooted adults to not only misdirect black youth, but to also place a divide in between the adults and the youth. The enemy focuses on discrediting black adults in the eyes of their children. Once black youth view their parents and elders as incompetent, unhip, cowardly, and powerless, then the only people they will drift towards will be the enemy and their minions. This is why in African culture, we ask the elders to speak before we speak. This isn't done to suppress creativity or to suppress intelligence or to be dominating of the discourse. It is done to protect outside forces from influencing the weak and to poisoning the subconscious mind as well as the conscious mind of the village. The elders are trusted with this role because they have the track record that proves they have the best interest at hand morally, culturally, spiritually, educationally, and politically for our people. They accept the responsibility and understand the importance of protecting the culture. The enemy they accept the responsibility and understand the protecting of culture. The enemy has convinced the most recent generations of black people that culture is synonymous with trends, that culture isn't political, and that culture can be sold and controlled by persons outside of the culture. This will explain why within our so-called communities, we display so many anti-African insanities. The war waged on young blacks, adults, beginning with the civil rights era up until present day, has been relentless. Solitary confinement, character assassinations, being blackballed out of jobs and careers, the creation of crack, Jewish-controlled entertainment, the promotion of sexual perversion, the attack on the black family structure, and countless other operations have been waged on our people, and more times than not, the war is exclusively waged on blacks throughout the diaspora. In ancient Kemet, a student would go to school for 40 years. I interpret that as meaning we are still mentally impressionable for at least the first 25 to 30 years of our lives. This doesn't mean that we can't display maturity. It just proves that experience is the best teachers. Some things can be learned through reading, while others must be learned through on-the-job training. Seeking knowledge doesn't take as long as it does to seek wisdom. Knowledge is the prerequisite to wisdom. So, knowing this, we must be very, very careful, very cautious. I would even say we must be overprotective of who we allow to influence our children within the first 20 to 30 years of their lives. Everything that they are exposed to should be a representative of a BB Fahodier in the highest form. And anything that we show them that contrast the BB Fahodie should be put in a context to let them know that this is something that you must destroy so you can get wings, that you must destroy so we can protect our roots.
We must protect our children. A BB Fahodie family.